and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to continue the journey of Fyne sneak peeks today by showing you a little bit of work that we've done on caching. Now, obviously for a toolkit that does so many things and manages your application state as well as trying to optimize all of the rendering, there's a lot of caching that goes on internally. Remembering previous items, rasterizing text so it doesn't need to be done all the time. Essentially things that mean that each time we draw a frame to the window, it could be done with as little CPU as possible. But this isn't something that we've made available to application developers. And of course, caching of items is often going to be useful. So I'm going to dig up an example I showed you a few weeks ago, my /read app, which I could just show you the latest version. So here you see the /read app. It's reading the feed from /dot, it's showing the articles, the icons, and if you tap, you can go into the details. It's a pretty straightforward app I made very quickly, but I want to show you how caching could be really useful to an app like this and really enhance its usability. There's two items that I want to show you that I've added caching to. First of all, it's those icons. You could see here we use load resource from URL string, and the image URL is just part of the metadata that we load from the feed. That means each time we load the app, we're going to have to access the web where that image is coming from. There was some image caching code in the app before, but it wasn't ideal. And what we've added to Fyne makes this so much easier. Instead of load resource, I could just say cache resource. This new API call is going to extract that image from the website it comes from and then save it locally. So if we need to do that lookup again, we can just read it straight from memory or the disk, something that means we don't need to connect to the web. So my note there about a potentially slow load is far less impactful on reruns. That's pretty cool. The other item is to load the feed and to cache that as well. And if I just scroll a little bit further up, you could see here, I'm looking to see if we have a cache entry before. We're using this new cache function on the application. That gives us an instance of a cache. And a cache can be used to look up items by name and query whether they exist. In this case, I have a constant cache key. That's just the string identifier that I use for this feed. If it exists, then I'm loading it from the cache and then rendering to screen immediately based on what we have found out. You can see that happens here with exists and then read. And then I pass it to the previous code to load that feed from the reader which we've got. I also check what time that cache was, and we'll see where that's saved in a moment. Now that cache, it can be loaded straight away before we even have to connect to the internet. You can see the next thing that we do is read the actual feed from the web. Now that could fail, and in fact here we could say it's failed to connect. But let's skip that for a moment and go down to where we actually read it. So again we're calling load feed from reader, but I've used a T-reader here so that as we pull the data off the web, it's going to load it into the feed, but it's also going to be copied into this buffer that I've called copier. Assuming that goes well, we have a little bit more code here. It's writing that copier into a cache entry. That means that once the feed has been downloaded, we have it available locally for use next time, which, as you can imagine, is a much faster display. After we've written it, I take the current time and I store that into the preferences, which has been there for some time, against the cache time key. That means that we can look it up later. And you can see that cache time key is useful. Here it's being loaded when the cache is successfully loaded, otherwise it's empty. In that case, we're able to put a little error message onto the screen to say how long ago the cache was made, so that if something fails, the user can decide whether or not they want to continue reading. Was the information accessed very recently, or was it really quite some time ago? To show this in action, I could just turn off my internet access and load the same app again. Turn off Wi-Fi there and load /read. And here you can see that error message. It says that it failed to connect to /dot and it's using the feed that was downloaded recently. That tells me I can read this feed. The data is all there, and the icons are loaded as well. This is excellent. I can read my feed at leisure. So if I'm jumping on a flight, I could quickly open the app, get the latest copy whilst I'm on Wi-Fi, close the app, jump on the flight, and then read this later on. And the whole downloaded feed is there, and I can dip in and out of the articles that interest me. Hopefully you can see how that's useful for apps that you're working on, and you can look forward to adding that to your functionality if you access the Fyne Develop branch, or if you wait until the 2.8 release, which is coming a little bit later this year. That's all for today. Thanks so much for joining me. If you'd like to see other things I'm working on, please do check out my website at andy.xyz, my YouTube archive, or the posts that I've published on Patreon before. There's newsletters and there's videos that you may not have seen on YouTube. If you like this, please do consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon. You could get some of these lovely stickers illustrated, and you can keep up ahead of everybody else with what's going on. And you'll gain access to some exclusive content about an AI workflow that I'm setting up, which isn't going to be published to my YouTube archive. So head along to Patreon and sign up now. I'll see you in a future video.